Hi, I'm Veronica and I'll be explaining relational dialectics from a point of view which I thought was more easy to understand. As I was learning about relational dialectics from the book and in class, I was a bit confused on what it meant and how it was worked out and the whole concept of the theory. But as I looked at it from a perspective of a parent and child relationship, as the child is going off to college, I felt that it was a lot more easy to understand. There are three overarching relational dialectics. The first one is integration separation, and there's stability and change, and expression non-expression. I will be explaining each of these relational dialectics using my model of a relationship between a parent and a child as the child is going off to college, which is something that we can all relate to. First, I will be explaining connection versus autonomy, which is under the integration separation relational dialectic, which is under internal dialectic. So looking at connection autonomy, that's basically looking at, does the child want to stay in contact with their parent, or do they want to separate and become more autonomous, more independent, have their own lives? So on one hand, the parent will call the child a lot, maybe once a day, and try to keep that connection going. And maybe the child themselves wants more autonomy, so it creates stress upon this relationship. Then looking at external dialectic, parents will want to keep their relationship with their child on a more external level. So there's certain things that you either show everyone else or don't show. So looking at external dialectic, with inclusion-seclusion, the parent wants to be heavily included in the personal relationship of their child while they're at school, but the child may want to seclude them. They don't want to see all of their relationships going on in college, and yet they can be included through social media, and that's the external force going on in that. So we can see an external use of the relationship going on and the dialectics happening through social media and through the parent wanting to see what their child is doing. So going along with inclusion-seclusion, the child may not want to tell their friends about their relationship with their parents and their family. Whereas the parent will probably blab to every one of their friends and relatives all about their child and their adventures while they're at college. By the way, this is my assistant, Kaylee. She's my lovely roommate. She's learning a lot about theory today. Anyway, back on topic. The second relational dialectic is stability versus change. And we'll see that in certainty versus uncertainty, in internal dialectic, and conventionality versus uniqueness in external. So how this is portrayed in a student versus parent relationship is certainty versus uncertainty. That's easy because the parent really doesn't know what the kid's doing at school. They get into alcohol and new friends and new relationships and this whole whirlwind, and chances are they're not telling their parent everything that's going on. So that's where the uncertainty part comes in. Whereas there's other things that the parents can be certain about, such as grades. My mom frequently keeps me up to date with, telling me, you need to get good grades, I can see what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. Whereas, from the student's point of view, I know personally, when I'm not at home, I'm kind of uncertain of what is going on at home, and the relationship kind of gets a strain because I'm not told all of the information that I need. For example, my freshman year, my mom got cancer, and she didn't tell me until I came home for break, and it was a huge surprise, and it put a huge strain on our relationship because then I was uncertain of what she was telling me versus what she was not telling me. So then going on to external dialectics, with conventionality versus uniqueness. The conventional approach to a parent-child relationship is usually that the child will come home on breaks, see the parent then, have phone calls, and keep up with the parent while they're away. Uniqueness would be having a very tight relationship, for example, with your parents. You call them all the time, you go home a lot, have that stronger bond, or uniqueness being the opposite of that, where I have a friend who he never goes home, he stayed here all summer, he barely talks to his mom, basically completely separated that relationship. And those are the two things when looking at society where either you can be unique in the face of society and go against the flow of what people expect of you, or you can be conventional and do what everybody else does. I have another assistant that's helping me. That's Audrey, my other roommate. Her face, for legal purposes, will not be shown in this video. Okay, so now we're going to look at expression versus non-expression relational dialectic. From an internal dialectic perspective, it's the openness versus closeness. For parents and children, that would be what they reveal to each other, what they tell each other, how open their relationship is versus how closed off they can be. Openness versus closeness focus on the communication flow between the relationship between the parent and the child at school. The openness being how much they tell their parent, the things that they leave out of the conversation, big life changes, such as if they go on trips, if they join organizations. This is the big things that are happening. Whereas parents can be either open or closed about stuff like financial situations, relative situations, things going on in the family. Then looking at external dialectic from revelation versus concealment, this is how the relationship, the pair chooses to show others, show the external society what their relationship consists of. Between a parent and a child, that's more of what they're talking with, the secrets that they're sharing with each other, the overall bond that they have with each other. How much are they going to show to the people around them, to the society around them, and how much are they going to conceal from everybody else? Overall, looking at relational dialectics from a parent and child relationship as the child goes off to school is an easy way to see how communication will change depending on how the relationship changes and the different strains that environments put on a relationship. I hope this makes more sense to you now, and I hope this helped. And big thanks to my board holders and my parents.
Peace out, y'all.
Anyway.
Yeah.